Yep. That's where we're at, folks.
Take a sip of your coffee. Take a breather.
This one's going to need coffee, certainly. Welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
And I'm John.
Together we are
Ryan and John.
on the couch, as always.
Well,
Kara Tafoya.
yeah, it's true.
Look at me.
And joining us this week, government political correspondent Annie the Scoveman.
Yeah.
Hello, Ryan and John. It's great to be joining you on this momentous occasion. It is lively out here, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is unprecedented times.
I
for
sure wish they were unprecedented times.
It is
Precedented.
completely precedented.
Well, here we are, guys.
Yes,
Today
we are.
is November 6th, the day after the 2024 election. And
For the 47th president of the United States.
number 47 is, we just found out yesterday morning, or I guess this morning,
Yeah.
early. Donald Trump is back
Unequivocally.
in a shocking landslide victory.
I feel it's hurting you. You feel.
You
feel down.
You know, Annie texted me this morning, and I've been like, I was like, I'm okay. I'm like kind of still collecting my thoughts, but
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I feel. I feel the same. I'm not sure I know. I'm not sure I processed the whole thing. It was a very big shock.
Kara?
Let's first, before we jump right into it,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
address the elephant in the room a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
We are not in our studio.
No.
that
We
normally are.
mentioned last week
mentioned
that we
last
wouldn't
week.
be in a studio.
Well, last week we
setting.
weren't in a studio either.
But we did say that we
We
were
were in a
going to go on a couple week
That's
run.
right.
My goal is that in 2 episodes we'll have some version of the new studio.
Is this one of the two?
Yes, yeah. So next
okay.
week we'll
I
have
thought
to
it was
be
like 2
displaced
after this episode.
No, we'll be displaced next week for sure.
Yeah.
Which maybe next week we do in the living room of my new house.
Oh, sure.
And then
House
I
party.
think next week we'd each take our own room and we do it basically virtually where like I'll do it from my room, you can do it from master, Carol will be in the living room, Ryan can be down here, and then we just Zoom each
that
other.
sounds like a
So that way they
yeah,
get
cable
they get
patching nightmare.
That sounds horrible.
We're gonna be sitting in a room by ourselves, just hearing each other.
Dibs on the
Yeah.
bathroom.
What's the
you
movie?
do that.
What's the movie? Wait, who said that?
unfriended.
All right, guys, hands up.
Hands
Who's
up.
doing this?
Who's doing it?
Unfriended.
Classic. That is
classic movie.
a classic.
It's a classic. movie.
Classic. But then, so then this kind of serves well, though. We were just talking about
Yeah,
before we
it's
started.
moody. It's a moody vibe, for
It's
sure.
a very interesting, moody image
Sure.
that we've got going on
My
here.
look is very topical. Oompa loompa.
Dark. Oh,
Oh. Yeah. Kara's direct look to Kara is so good.
Bad
I am looking.
orange
I'm looking a
spray
little
tan.
orange myself.
We should have gotten spray
It might
tans
not look
for
so
this.
bad in post, just so you know.
I'm starting to think.
Is that what Trump's people are saying?
I'm starting to think that
It might not
that's
look
just,
that bad.
I think he's just stained that color. I don't think that.
Do you think it's?
I don't think he gets spray tans.
I think you
he
said
is
that he
color.
looked less orange
He
during the
looked-
run,
yeah,
during the last
during
bit
the,
of his
his-
campaign.
Last night,
No,
the
he
pictures that
looked
are
so
coming back
orange.
from last night
Did you
and
see
this
him on-
morning, he's so
Well,
orange.
we stayed up to watch the victory speech, and then
Well, saying
Did you
up is a
see
loose
his
term.
son
and
in
he
the
fell asleep
background?
with the chair.
I fully fell asleep. It was 1 a.m.
And then
I was
she's like, wake me up when he starts
Wake-
talking.
wake me
And
up
then
when he
as soon
starts
as
talking.
and I was like, hey Eddie, she's like,
it's here, it's here. Okay.
and it was like 10 minutes. It was not worth staying up for. But
Yeah.
If we
was
can
long.
pull up a picture of him on the cover of Vanity Fair today.
Oh, is he
Um,
on the cover of Vanity
He
Fair?
was on
today?
the cover just today.
Yeah. They posted
Really
one.
high def and very orange.
Yeah.
No, but I was saying the debate that he did against Kamala. They both looked great. Like arguably,
Sure.
like he looked less orange
He
and his
missed,
hair looked
he
good.
missed having
and-
color.
Yeah, dude.
A little bit of context, obviously. You know, I think you already kind of mentioned it, but yes, Donald Trump is next 47th president, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we're living in that
The
time
first
frame
president since Grover Cleveland
1960. Oh no, sorry,
to not
1885.
have 2 terms in a row.
Yeah,
Not consecutive terms. Yeah.
Wow.
it is. I mean, it's interesting that like
It's the second
now we'll
time
have a
in
second
history.
president. Yeah, to have done it.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Yeah. I'd say so.
So we should talk about. I want to hear some of your
This?
thought process
Yeah.
throughout the night. Oh, whoa, that's intense.
Not a great picture.
Rough.
That is
Yikes.
intense. He probably loves
Not to
that
just
photo.
dog
though.
on the
He probably
man
loves
physically.
that photo. Though. No, he
Look at
loves
that
that photo.
contour.
No, he loves it.
Yeah,
he
that's
loves
You know he
being-
loves that.
He loves being on magazines
You
for
know
sure.
he loves it.
I've been trying to gather some thoughts, like I was
Yeah.
saying to Annie. I feel like there's an emotional response to this, which I've been feeling, but then there's also like a critical response to it, like which we should dive into.
Yeah.
Because the emotional response is like, I mean, we are in a fairly liberal community.
Sure.
I would say that, like, me looking at my life and our life here in Southern California, like, I feel like my friends and, like, you know, save for some family members, like, is very blue, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I have these ideas about, like, how the world is, and you know, a lot of the message has been like, oh, Donald Trump is, you know, he's Project 2025 is going to be this gigantic thing where he's stripping the rights from minority groups. He's going to deport 20 million Mexicans, illegal immigrants, and, you know, women's rights are going to be so, you know, devastated across the board. And so for, you know, the freedom of life, basically, we need to, this man is a bigot, he's racist, he's XYZ. And the takeaway you can get from that is like, oh, okay, well, this country must just be all of those things. People
Yeah.
agree with all that stuff. But I think, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think, like I said, like we're super like surrounded by liberal voices. And in my mind, I was like, is that like, are we just in a bubble? Because I think it isn't that. I think people are just not really thinking about that sort of thing at large in this country. Like, it's more just like, you know, I'm going to vote for who I vote for. And he says,
It's really based on economy.
Yeah.
This election was, I
almost
feel like,
solely-
solely based on
but that's what's
economy and how
weird is
expensive it
I
is.
feel like it's not. Like, I feel like it's based on what we think the economy is.
I don't know. I think that's where the bubble aspect comes in, where you are in a bubble in that. Because I think people in middle America, the farmers that like the people who went out in droves that really
Sure.
like pushed it over are the people that own businesses that are doing these things where that economy falling down and the tax hikes and all that is directly affecting them. And that's what they were voting on. They were willing to sacrifice the moral issues in order for the hopes of the economy turning around and their businesses and their lives
Yeah.
getting better.
I guess that's what I'm getting at is like, what?
Well, you see they came out with the statistics of like men to female, white
Yeah.
men to white men versus white female,
Yeah.
female Mexican,
Yeah.
male Mexican.
Yeah.
Like
If they had only counted female votes, if only females were voting, she would have had a 314 electoral votes.
yeah,
And I guess I'm
The
having a hard
statistics are
time
crazy because it's-
understanding like
it's things you wouldn't think.
people
Yeah.
are just, that's just how people are voting. Like, like
This is not a
all of the like the crimes he's committed and all of the racist things he said in the past 2 weeks and all the sexist thing he's said and done, and he's like maybe a rapist and he's like maybe the worst person ever, right? And all of that somebody can hang up and go, even if I'm not all those things, I don't agree with all those things, I can go, well, that's just not that important to me. I'm going to hang up those things because of the price of eggs.
I don't think it comes down to the price of eggs. I think it comes down to people losing their homes
Yeah.
and losing their livelihoods and losing their jobs.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to that. I think it's in their mind, life or death.
I just feel like Donald Trump hasn't been talking about those things. He's just been like,
his-
America, make
but his
America
track
great
Look
again.
at the last 4 years.
Yeah. His track record.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of if he's talking about it. It's how was it 4 years ago? How was our business
and seemingly
going? When he was
Kamala,
in
for better or for
charge?
worse, was fused with
Yeah,
the
which
Biden
I don't think-
administration,
I don't
which
think-
has been in power for the last 4 years, which
I
is
think
where
we-
you're seeing the inflation. In
we
the
definitely
last
need
4
to talk
years.
about that too. But
No, I'm not
I-
saying it's right. I'm just saying that's kind of the perception.
I
No, for
also
sure.
want to touch on that stuff.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't want to like, I'm sad to not, I'm hopeful in the sense that I truly believe I will see a female president in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, you're 26, so
I'm young and spry.
you'll see a female.
how many years do you think you have? How many election cycles do you think you have left?
At least one.
At least.
And after that,
So you
I
think
mean,
that 4
more
anything
years?
So not this one, but
anything-
the next one.
Yeah.
Once Donald Trump's off the table.
anything, I think for
We got
sure we got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think after that, any other elections I lived through, that's just money, you know, like extra cherry on top.
Sure.
Just money. Love it.
But I think, I don't want to say people admire him for those horrible things because they are horrible.
Right.
I think the reality is those views and the things that he's done were already happening with politicians behind closed doors. JFK, Bill Clinton was.
I'm sorry.
Bill Clinton was
I'm
elected.
Sorry. We had an insurrection of the Capitol.
Okay,
That's the one that I'm again.
but that's not what you
I'm getting
just
hung
said.
up. Okay, you're
That's not
right.
what you
You're
just
right.
said.
I just feel like there's so many. You know what I mean? There's so many
catch.
things we could talk about.
Yeah,
Sure.
of course.
Yeah.
You're talking about the
race
racism, the bigotry, the
and
sexism.
the sexism, the you know.
Open. You're saying it's an open
The
thing that
reality is-
people are like that.
I don't want to say it's an open thing. The reality is, we have had presidents who were all of those things that we love to idolize, and they were, I don't want to say worse, but like on par
Yeah.
with the crimes that he has committed
Yeah.
in those categories. And
I guess it's the overtness, and maybe the
and
difference
that's
is
what I was trying to get at. Is there's
the
a part of me
news.
that I think that people, especially the people who don't I don't want to say don't understand, you know, government, but are sick of kind of the runaround of politicians, the face of a politician. And we were talking about this. I think that's where he really wins, is because he's so overtly.
He's not
blunt.
pretending to be
He's not
something
pretending to be
else.
anything.
Yes.
He's exactly who he is, because you're like, there's
it
no
sucks.
way if you're pretending to be this that you would choose to be this.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's what I'm saying is, I guess I thought that would have been a bigger deal. And I thought that like that would have at least swayed you a little bit. Like if truly millions of people showed up, we're talking tens of millions of
one of the
votes.
biggest
How many
voter turnouts.
criminals do you think voted for him though? Like, I'm a criminal. I'm gonna vote for a criminal.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Well, no felons, I'll
Yeah,
tell you
I was
that.
gonna say, can you vote when you're?
I don't
well,
think you can vote as a felon.
are you talking about like Elon Musk? Because that guy was one
Yes.
of his biggest supporters. And
But Elon's not a felon, is he?
No, but
He's-
yeah,
no, the word
He's
was
a
the word was
criminal.
criminal.
Yeah.
The word was criminal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
How is he a criminal? Just so I know.
Elon.
Oh, have you seen him lately? He looks like a Superman, like supervillain.
Yeah, he fully does.
sure. He looks and acts.
He
He's
looks like
criminal
it.
in
Did
that
Yeah.
one.
you
Okay, I'll
listen
give you he
to
looks
Trump's
like it.
victory speech?
No.
No.
From the crowd, he's listing these people who've been influential to the campaign and
Yeah.
stuff like that. From the audience, someone screams, like they start screaming, Elon, because he's like, I'm sure there's
It was
people I
Elon.
forget, I've forgotten.
What about me?
He's like, I'm sure there are people I've forgotten, and they're like, Elon. He goes, huh? Like in the middle of his speech, he goes, what did you say? And like, he kind of goes like this, and they go, Elon. He goes, oh yes, Elon Musk. Let me talk about him. Goes on a whole thing about Elon Musk. I don't even think Elon Musk was there. He has like 27 kids at home. He's at
He's
home
also running
sleeping.
like 3 companies or
What's the
4
one named
companies.
XA12 or something?
I don't know. Oh yeah, the
They
one where they
wouldn't
had to. They wouldn't let him put numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go back.
Kind of crazy.
They're like, no, you literally can't do this to a kid.
When both of you left the house yesterday, in the midst of all this, I watched 3 movies.
Love.
3. Here we go. Number
for
1
you. Yeah.
was
Wait,
My
is this
date
what
with the
we're talking
president's
about?
daughter.
We have a whole election to talk about.
no, because this is what happened. Because I didn't want to watch anymore.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's
The
fair.
first
Sure.
movie I watched. Oh, frick! What was it?
This is great
Second movie I
podcasting.
watched was Don't Move.
Oh my god.
Here's
Okay.
here's 3 movies that Kara watched. Just no, we don't have the names of them. We don't have the names of them.
And instead of watching the election
Literally,
results,
Ryan came home and went, "How long was I gone for?" And I went, "Enough for 3 movies." I don't remember the first one I watched.
Okay.
It was
I'm not sure
it was
it
the one.
matters,
It was
but-
like Time's Up or something, and the girl goes back to
Okay.
2003.
sure.
Classic.
It was good music, classic. Second one was Don't Move. That was another thriller.
Yeah, go ahead.
Third one, Princess Bride.
I love this.
And Ryan came
podcast.
home.
We were on such a good
And
roll.
that's when he said, "Oh, 3. How long was I gone?" And and then he looked at me. He went, "Have you been watching the election?" I went, "No, I finished 3 movies." And he goes, "It's not looking good." And I said, "That's why I watched 3 movies."
Okay, let's get back into it.
There we go.
You're killing me, dude. You're killing me.
I love Zakira. Thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Like, so that's kind of a separate thing. What were we talking about? January 6th.
Yeah.
I feel like past that, like it kind of breaks down for me when it's like, well, it's not that big a deal. Like I feel like that should have been a bigger deal. I feel like the 34 convictions should have been a bigger deal. Like these things just keep happening where I keep going like, oh, this has got to be it. Like this is the last straw. They got like, there's no way he runs after this, and it just has kept
I think. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue.
All I was going to say is I feel like the past 4 years have been even more incendiary than when he was in office.
That was a big word.
Like,
Very nice.
thank
word.
you.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think, yes, those things are awful and maybe more needed to be done on those things. I was telling Annie, the craziest part is that it's not even that like the electoral college voted him in. He won the popular vote.
Yeah.
So he had enough votes for that America wanted him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part that's so hard to swallow. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to rack my brain on it.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
It just makes
I'm saying
it
yes.
makes no sense
so
to me.
yes, all these things are awful, and yet maybe the justice system could have done more in terms of some of these things that he is accused of and been in trial for and all that stuff. But the reality is that makes this all hard. But the reality is that America still wanted him. That's crazy. You know.
I think it comes down to also this of it becomes there are two giant political parties in this country.
Sure.
And even if you're a moderate, you look at the last 4 years, and the reality is we'll touch on this. I mean, I think her election kind of got messed up or her campaign got messed up because Joe didn't pull out until way later.
I'd agree with
that.
Like, I think if he had endorsed her from the beginning and she was, the campaign was all about her and they didn't try to like split the time and because she got 130 days, 107 days to have a presidential campaign.
100%.
Like that's
I
just
know a
not
lot of it
fair.
too is her stance on the war in Gaza.
And a lot of that
That's
too
what I
is
heard.
I think
she's
it's
also
a
you look at
red herring.
her history. You look at her voting history. She's very wishy-washy. Trump is Trump, but he has been
He's
Trump
committed
the
to the
whole
brand.
time.
Trump told the Israeli president Netanyahu to do whatever you got to do over there. And Trump won the Muslim vote, the Islamic vote in a bunch of battleground
Because
states.
you also have to
Makes
look at
no sense to
and this
me.
is
Yeah.
where it's like, I don't know what it's been like for Muslims in this country for the last 4 years.
Sure.
I don't know how it's drastically changed or if it's changed at all. But I've got to trust that like if he's won the whole of the Muslim vote,
Yeah.
then it must have been bad enough for them in the last 4 years to have not trusted someone who was so tightly tied
With the previous
to
administration.
the last
Right.
4
Yep.
years. So I think there's aspects of it who I think a lot of people who are in the middle in like had a bad experience in the last 4 years because I don't think it's necessarily her. I think it's the
I don't think so
Democratic
either.
Party period.
I think if they would have had Joe was
Joe
saying from the
really
very
messed it
beginning,
up.
I'm not going to run again.
Yeah,
I'm
liar.
an intermediary or a transitional figure.
Yep.
If the Democratic Party would have had the freaking, convention like they should have,
Yeah,
we would have
they
picked a
should've.
candidate everybody could have rallied behind that they were actually chose. They didn't have the back and forth. They didn't ever make Joe have to debate.
Yeah.
Because it kind of did boil down to the fact that, I think Kamala, by the end of the campaign, had some good stuff. But it was just, again, running on 2020's promises of, we just have to get Trump out of office.
You know what it feels like? It feels like there's a team, a shadow team on the Democratic Party that are pulling the strings because none of it felt like it was planned out, right? It feels like someone's making these last minute decisions.
Right.
It's very reactionary.
But I'm like, who is it? Who is the team? Who are the people who are the people moving around? Because it doesn't feel like it's Joe. It doesn't feel like it was Kamala. It doesn't they just seem like figureheads.
Right.
I'm like, well, who's the team doing it? And
I
that's
think
where it kind of feels shady. That's where it feels
multiple
political.
correlations, and when you look at the timeline, I think
Yeah.
the reason Joe ran a second term is because I think his team was saying, "You can do another 4 years. You can do it. You can do
No,
it." And
I
then
think her voting, her ratings were so abysmal that they're like, we can't put her on the ticket because everyone hates her.
Sure, but at some point when what? Yes, but they were platforming Joe because they were like, "Oh, well, Joe will do another 4 years." Then that debate happens. Everyone goes, "He cannot do another 4 years."
He can't do
And
another
so that's
4
when
months.
that's when all these Democratic leaders like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, like they are all calling for him to step down. Mind you, 110 days before
Right.
before the election.
Election.
And then because there's a crazy video where he does a podcaster interview with like a social media guy, and he's like, "You're running." This is 8 days before he dropped out. And he's like, "Absolutely, I'm running." There's no 100%.
And he's like, what would be the only reason you didn't do it? And he's like, if the Lord God told me not to.
Yes, and then 8 days
Everyone's like,
later,
okay.
he drops.
I guess he did.
And then I think that's another coalition of people that realize, okay, he's not going to win. Now we have to take a left turn, and that's what put the Democratic Party in such a bad position. Now I do think there were parts about her campaign that she actively did that also didn't help her. I think the fact that she didn't do a lot of interviews, and when she was asked about certain things, she kind of pushed it off. Like
Podcasts won this election.
Yes.
They
You think
literally
so?
no.
Trump
they,
went on 4 or
almost
5
every
podcasts.
platform. Every news platform last
Yeah,
night
he was on
like
Joe Rogan, huh?
No, and you know who's the one whose idea was? Barron Trump.
His son.
Barron
His
Trump
son.
self-appointed himself as like the podcast
Yes,
leader or whatever.
yes. It was a position.
He
See
got
that?
himself. He got his dad on almost every major
Theo Von,
like Theo Von,
yeah.
Joe Rogan, like a couple
See,
of
that
these like
paints
comedy
such
ones.
a clear picture for me of like, get on these podcasts, these, alt-right, like super far-right leaning
But it's not
young
even-
guys
it's young
that
guys.
watch Joe Rogan and are all fired up now that Trump is going to say, and they're talking about the economy when they're 18, 19, 20 years old. This is
Yeah.
their first election. Why are you talking about the economy,
But
young
that's
bro?
why is because it doesn't even matter. They matter that Theo Von is
Wow.
going to vote for him.
The 18 to 24 age group, the popular vote was for Trump.
It's,
Yeah.
it's crazy
that
to me.
that's crazy because it has been overwhelmingly Democratic.
That's
What I'm
they've
saying is
only
when we
ever-
talk about
20 years.
when we talk about the economy and making it better for America, Trump still doesn't really have a plan beyond the Chinese tariffs we keep hearing about.
Yeah.
Which
the
he doesn't
tariffs
know.
on
He
imported
doesn't-
goods.
He doesn't understand what that means with tariffs. The tariffs
Exactly.
are the American companies are paying the tariffs. They're paying for the goods from China, so they've paid for the products, and now the American companies are also paying a tax. They're paying the tariff in order for those Chinese goods to come in. So
the next
it's hurting
iPhone's gonna be like
Americans.
$4,000.
Yeah, it's not hurting the
Right.
Chinese.
So that's what
government.
we have this. It's kind of like the less you say, the less Trump says, the more people fill in the blanks.
But
and Trump says we're going to get back to a financially positive 16 to 2020 before the pandemic was a net positive, right, for this country.
Absolutely.
It
And I
was-
think
it
that's
was-
what people are voting on.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't directly attribute that to Trump either,
No.
because it's
Everything's
coming
a-
post 2008,
Oh yeah,
coming out of the
it was Obama's doing a
where
lot
we
of
were
it.
like the lowest we'd been since the Great Depression, and you know what I mean. So Trump goes, we're going to get back to that. This is the greatest comeback in political history, and people go, damn, you're right. Gas is expensive. A carton of milk costs $4. I'm voting for Trump. Like, you're right. We need to get back to that. And it's like, I just feel like a little bit of critical thinking dissipates that a little bit.
I think that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit me with it. Hit me with
I don't
it.
want to. I think you are overgeneralizing and dumbing down the American people to think that was the price of eggs and a carton of milk is the only thing they were voting on.
Okay, I mean, stretch it out more. They
People were losing their businesses in
Yeah.
this last 4 years.
People-
their
yeah.
livelihood. There was a guy they interviewed, and he said, "I don't like Trump. I don't like any of the things he's done or he says." He
is
said,
that because
"But I'm
of Joe
about to-
Biden's
I've lo-
presidency, or is that because of a post-COVID?
He's the
world?
guy. He's the guy at the helm. I mean, the last 4 years.
The reality is too. The races we should be looking at, and I think this attributes to it'll all connect. The people that are actually going to change things are those Senate seats and those congressional seats, and those are both red. People voted overwhelmingly,
Which means most of his things are going to get passed.
seats that were, but it doesn't even matter because Trump's not making half this crap.
No.
It is the senators and the representatives. Like, they are the ones that are, so if it was just that everything else got voted blue and Trump got, voted in, like, whatever, that's where I'd be like, oh yeah, people just like hated her so much, or they just wanted to see the drama.
Well, that's how it was in
I still think that's
2016,
true,
right?
but-
Wasn't the Senate blue in 2016?
Yeah.
So it was like, he's not really gonna.
And then that's why it was such a big
Get
deal that he
things
got
pushed
he got the Supreme Court, because then it was
Yeah.
like now
Yeah.
we're ahead. But the fact that every single one was voted red, that's, to me, shows that people are like, okay, well, there's like, we need to try something else because we've let the Democrats try, and now we need to try the other way because it's not working.
Yep.
And I think that's where it's like, it's hard to say like, oh, it's going to be Trump, because the reality is Trump's the figurehead. The rest of it is where it's really going to be voting. So I think that's where you see that people are like really voting in the idea of like, well, we need to figure out what's going with like the economy. And even if like, all the propositions and stuff like that were, tax raise or hike or change this.
And that's why I feel like I don't feel bad about dumbing it down, because he is just a figurehead, but what the figurehead represents isn't just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just money, and it's not just like, oh, because we lost our home or because we lost our business or whatever. Like, I feel like there was so much more in between the lines that, call it privilege. We live in California, and I get to, be in this blue state and go, yeah, like, okay, but are you hearing the things that he's saying and everything? And that was kind of my point, is like, who cares, right? Is like, who cares about those things?
I think you got to look at the optics of the entire election too. Is like Trump was who he was, but then you factor in the fact that Kamala came in 107 days prior. We knew of her in her correlation to Joe Biden, but she didn't really I didn't think she made a great attempt at communicating what she was actually going to do and change. And that factoring in the fact that the last 4 years, these people are now targeting Joe, is going like, well, Joe was in charge for the last 4 years. And things got worse. Like, my business is about to close. The price of gas and food went up.
Which it wasn't Joe.
It's not Joe, but
what
that's
I'm
the
saying.
perception. Is like,
Right.
if he's the president, like he's responsible for somehow fixing that.
Sure.
Which is probably unfair, but that's how most people think.
Dude,
And
that's
then,
all because of FDR.
yeah,
that
and
guy.
then you have Kamala Harris, who's the only thing we know about her is her correlation to that administration. And then she comes in 107
Right.
days later, and I really don't think she represented what she was going to do to make an accurate change. So I think a lot of people were wanting change. Kamala comes in. I think Kamala was capable of the change, but she didn't communicate that. And so Middle America is like, all we know about her is she's connected to Joe Biden. She hasn't really given us a stance.
Yeah,
It did feel like she was like, when she went out to campaign, she really was just targeting those kind of swing states where somebody in her party went, okay, we only have this much time. If we hit Atlanta really hard, if we hit Georgia really hard, if we hit Pennsylvania
Well, yeah,
really
'cause
hard,
they know they're gonna get
Michigan,
Most of those.
Certain things blue. California's always going to be blue.
Yeah, New
right?
York's
But
always gonna be blue,
but
yeah.
if we hit those swing states, we don't really have to care about like
The other
like
ones.
you said, catering to the Sun Belt, Middle America, because it's like
They were talking about
they're probably
Pennsylvania
going red
a lot
anyway.
this week.
Well, because that one is it's crazy that it went red.
Yeah.
It's crazy that it went red because Donald Trump got on stage at Madison Square Garden, and his buddy that he brought up was like,
horrible.
fuck Puerto Rico, fuck Puerto Ricans, right? Fuck black people, fuck Mexicans, all those people. They had people spouting so much crazy shit, and then it was like, oh shoot! That was another one where I was like, oh, this is it.
I think-
you guys, oh, this is
I
crazy.
truly
This
do
is
think-
the freaking Nazis are back. Here we go. And it like didn't move the needle at all. I'm like,
I think in the next couple months, there's going to be multiple assassination attempts again.
you think so?
Yeah. Yes.
I said that too.
And I think
I
she's gonna
said
die.
Oh.
I don't think he's gonna live a whole term.
No, I don't think
hope
so
he
either.
does, internet, because I don't want anyone dying. But
I don't think you will.
See, that felt disingenuine right there.
no,
when
it
you
was
looked at the
genuine.
camera and
literally-
you said-
Because I
he
don't
literally
want it.
had
I don't,
two
'cause,
attempts.
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
the
want that
FBI,
to
the Secret
happen.
Service scrubbing the internet and being like, clipping me, being like, oh yeah, I think
Hold
he's
on,
gonna
hold on.
die.
She's
One second.
done.
No,
You want Trump to be emboldened by an assassination in his presidential term?
I don't. I did not say
That's
that.
the last thing you want from his party. His party will. he will be
He'd die a
Republican
martyr.
Jesus
He
for
would
the
die a
rest
martyr.
of for the rest of eternity if he dies in office.
First of all,
you know he
Republican
will.
Jesus.
That's so
There's
true.
a hat out there that
Isn't
says
Jesus supposed to
is
be
my,
Republican
Jesus
Jesus?
is my savior and Trump is my president. I'm gonna get us all those hats.
That's
I'm just,
so
you know what
rough.
I'm saying, though. I know you're not saying you want that, but I'm saying
kidding.
I
There's so
want
much
Secret
merch right
Service to
now.
protect him. I want him to have a mediocre presidency
Yeah.
and go away.
That,
you know what I'm saying?
that is the biggest hope out of all this is he can't run again.
He can't run again.
This
That's
is
what it is.
And there's nobody.
That's it.
And he picked JD Vance because there's nobody as charismatic enough to fill that spot.
Oh, and
Right now.
and they're like trying to kind of like pump up Donald Jr.
Yes.
and I'm sorry, people
insane,
hate
though,
him.
right?
No one likes him.
Yeah.
Everyone hates him. Republicans, Democrats, moderates, everyone.
So the
hates
ideal,
him.
next 4 years, because they called it, right? He's going to be president.
Oh yeah, he's
Oh
no.
yeah, there's no doubt.
Kamala conceded.
Yeah, she had a speech today. Did you
So-
watch it?
I did. I saw some
It's
of
good.
it.
It was
I-
she was very well
And
spoken.
I honestly, I feel bad because I really think she could have mustered up being a semi-decent president.
I think she would have. I think she would
And
have
I
done a
think
good job.
the boost for women would have been great. I think the boost for, African Americans
You know
in this
what?
country would have been great.
I think that there was a boost with it. And here's my thing is the fact that when Hillary ran, there was this whole thing of like a woman in the presidency. There ain't no way. Like it was, and granted, she made her whole campaign of, I love
I'm a
women.
woman.
I'm a woman. Vote for women, which is like
Right.
so funny because she was like such a woman hater when it came to all the women that her husband cheated on her with. It's like, hate the man, not the woman.
Okay.
Like, hate the man that was
We are gonna circle back to that, but I'll let you keep going.
interns, but whatever.
Next election, I'm
Anyway.
selling tickets to watch the election night with Annie. Just the amount of fun facts and information
fact.
was amazing. It was
Historical
so
facts.
awesome.
I'm opening it up. I'm opening up.
And
the
then we're like
storefront.
talking as Kamala's losing. We're like talking about like what did she do wrong? And he's like, well, this is what Hillary did because she knew all the facts. It was amazing. It was awesome.
Oh, my girl Amy Klobuchar.
Yes, she started pulling out names. She's like, Amy
I love
won.
Amy
I'm like,
Klobuchar.
who's Amy? She's
Amy
like,
Klobuchar is a senator from I should know. I think it's Minnesota or Wisconsin, something like that, up in that area.
yikes.
When I was I was writing a paper about women in government for my major, and I
Say
followed
her name one more time.
Amy Klobuchar.
Okay.
And I followed her every female representative, Senate, in Congress, period, senators, representatives, on Twitter at the time, because it was Twitter at the time, it wasn't X. I followed them on Twitter. She followed me back. She was the only one to follow me back. So her and I were like this. She threw her ring in 2020, her hat in the ring, and she didn't
ring in the
get
hat.
far.
Bring that.
But I'm hoping I just listened to her. If you want to listen to a great podcast, I know you're listening one right now. Jamie Lee Curtis has a podcast called Good Friends, and she interviews her because they're friends.
I love
Amazing.
when she does this.
I
I,
know.
love when she
Amazing.
promotes
Amy Klobuchar.
a different,
It sounds
a
like she listens
celebrity.
to
It's not
every-
like, oh, our friend's podcast, like we're cross pollinating.
It's a
Jamie Lee
major-
Curtis's podcast.
It's like she wants people to listen to any other podcast but this one.
Hey
Go-
guys,
okay, go listen to that
turn
one
this
and
off.
come back.
Turn this off and listen to a famous celebrity. Why would
Go
you
ahead,
listen to
hey,
us?
pause this. Slide over to
Listen.
Jamie Lee Curtis's podcast.
Love Amy. Go
Yeah,
queen,
it was
go queen.
it was fun to watch it with her because it was Annie knows so much, as you know, about.
She was at my house when it started, and she was falling asleep on the couch. So I don't know what happened
I was
between
sleeping in
then
there.
and then.
I was just like
She was like, "Oh, we're watching this."
we just started. We just turned it on and we were watching, and then
Turn it
I was
off.
like, I just want to be here for like when they announce like a state, like we just got blah, blah, blah. And then literally like right after I said it, they announced it was like something for Kamala.
A
I think it was
state.
New
Yeah.
Hampshire or something. But
Yeah, it was a blue state.
It was blue state, and we were like, I was like, and then
What was
Those
interesting
early
is
days.
how they were calling it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, like California's an easy one, right? California's always blue. But they were like calling states at like 67%
Yeah.
counted. And then here's Wisconsin at 98% counted.
they're like, we don't
it's
know.
too
and they're
close
like,
to call.
"Blah, we can't tell yet." And I'm like,
It's too
you
early
called
to
this
call.
one already, and it's
They
only
had a-
60,000 votes over.
There's
This morning
math.
on the news, they were talking about, I don't remember if it was Wisconsin or it was
Wisconsin,
somewhere like that.
they literally got
Michigan.
to like 99%
But
counted or
they,
something.
no, because there was a polling place that had a faulty,
yeah, but
they
they
were
reset
all
it.
they were all faulty, and this
They had to
morning
recount like
they had to
30,000
recount
votes.
30,000 votes.
And she actually won.
no.
I don't know.
He
sorry.
had such a weird margin in all that blue wall states.
You know what
like
I-
100,000
you know what I hate?
plus votes. in
Is I
all
can
those.
tell you why every single person I know in my life voted for Trump because
Really?
they've all posted about it,
Oh, well,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
sure.
for my
Dude.
and it's
for
all
my
been one specific reason:
and
Okay.
it was
abortion.
the price of eggs.
Oh really?
Yes.
interesting.
Price of eggs.
The man's had
Price
of eggs.
wives that have had abortion, so I can't get into that.
I know.
because
I
that's
know.
another one that makes me go completely
My
insane.
entire-
In his victory speech, he said something about it.
My whole Facebook page is pictures of unborn children and being like, "Do you want to abort this?"
You need to start cleaning out your friend list then.
For my health and safety, I did remove Facebook and Instagram and Reddit from my.
Really?
I didn't delete them, but
Homepage.
they're removed from the
I-
homepage. So now I just have to
hard-
search it
I
to
have
find.
such a hard time with that
Yeah.
because it is
Okay.
it is beyond. And Trump's even taking kind of a backseat on it because he was on a podcast where they made a joke about it where he was like, your son Barron is really attractive and he's older. You know, you sure you want to turn over Roe v. Wade
Yeah.
right now? Really? You really want to get rid of it now? You're
In
going to put your
case
son in a bad
he
case. Yeah, in case your
suddenly
son
has
gets someone pregnant.
Yeah, sure.
And Trump was like, ha ha ha, it's a state issue, so it's up to the states what they want
Right.
to do. He's even kind of like stopped taking such a hard stance on it.
Sure.
But the biggest issue I have is when people are like, you know, they're fighting over the reality of it. I'm like, okay, you're not thinking of it as like a policy.
No.
Because the problem with that is that foster care gets impacted, which it's already impacted. And well, hey, guess what? Because you voted on X, Y, and Z, we've already cut funding to that.
Oh, yeah.
So until we overhaul the foster care system and then overhaul, you know, and when you cut federal funding to something,
yeah.
then it goes to state funding. So what's your state? What does your state finances look like? How much is your state finance
Because
putting towards the foster care system?
The only thing
putting towards
Republicans
this?
hate more than abortions is supporting children.
Right.
They're like, oh God.
It's not
As
even
soon as it's born, get rid of it.
I
Get
don't
it outta
think-
here.
I think that is such a hot button topic of like abortion rights. It's like, no, okay, that's like I'd be completely happy if abortions were banned and we had safe healthcare and a great foster care system and zero judgment of people who carried to term, gave a baby up, and it was totally normal. But that's not the case. It's
not the case.
And what's happening is that the poverty line is going to, you know, freaking hike up because there's going to be all these people who are forced to have these children.
Or women are going to die because they have a condition where they can't carry this baby full term. It'll kill them.
I've seen a
then
lot of those
there's-
pop up
but
too.
there's a
Late
lot
term
of-
stuff where they're like, oh, I couldn't have this abortion because
And the reality is, if you read the laws, there's loopholes in that.
Oh,
of
yeah.
where
I'm
if
sure
that's
there
the
is.
case, it's basically completely legal no matter where you're at. If it's like a life or death situation for the mother.
Yeah.
for sure.
But the problem is then you have these medical facilities that are scared to make that call because
Right.
they're not 100% sure of the law. They don't
Yep.
want to lose their license.
Yep.
So there's these cases of doctors who aren't educated in like where their legal rights are. They're not, you know, advocating for their patients of the legal rights. So now you have these doctors who are like, well, I'm not going to lose my practice over you. And so it's like now the doctor's making the call for the woman, which is like even worse. It's like, hey, she's already dying at this
Yeah.
point. Like,
Have you seen?
And it's,
the
I mean, it's the
commercial?
flip side of like, it's the emotional response to
Oh,
voting
yeah.
for a, you know, it's like, oh, he's not going to let abortion like be just flaunted in this country. It's like the same, it's the other side of the coin of someone that's going to be like, you know, wants abortion rights. I get it's like such an emotional topic and people respond to it emotionally.
Yeah.
And so I think politicians take advantage of that.
and
Did you
it's-
see the commercial that came out? That was like, the guy is like, oh, my condom broke. And the girl's like, oh, don't worry, I have plan B in the bathroom. And he gets up and it's a politician who like is standing there and is like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just getting the plan B. And the
God.
politician's like, no,
That's illegal.
go ahead and walk in there and tell her congratulations that you're going to be a daddy.
Oh.
What?
Because
What
it was like-
commercial is this?
It was like,
what kind of
you're taking
weird
your-
liberal sites are you looking at?
it was on TikTok.
It was a
Like
TikTok I made.
www.liberals.com.
It literally was
She
like
was actually- I made the ad.
It was a guy who was like, I
www.
got voted into office, so I chose
my
this. So
president.com.
go ahead and tell her congratulations.
There is an element of that. And like, not to, you know, I never spin out on those things. Like, cause it is like,
Because you hate babies. I got it.
no, I hate babies. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, we're not like so Handmaid's Tale yet, but like,
Yet.
there is an element of it that is in between the lines of like, yeah, the government's telling you what you can do with your body. And like, that's so inherently Republican to be like, the government can't tell me what to do with my body. But it's like, they're supporting no abortion rights. Like
It comes down to
It's a carousel.
to Christianity, which is also so funny to me because there's like so many instances in the Bible where it warns of like infighting on stupid topics.
Yeah.
Of like,
Oh,
this
absolutely.
will be what destroys you, is you're going to fight on this and you're not actually going to like, realize what's like you're killing yourselves.
There's
which
no,
cracks
I
me
mean,
up.
there's no abortions in the Bible. So it's not like it's yes, agree with you. But like, we're at this point where it's like Christianity and it's like this Republican version of Christianity, which is like, no, that's against God. And it's like, well, no, it's not like, I mean, it is if you go down this path of like, well, murder is wrong and we're murdering but it's like, I don't know. It's not even like rule number 1 in the Bible. It's not even like rule number 11 in the Bible, I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to keep my emotions intact through this.
I mean,
and
2026, you have another election coming up for basically, all of the House of Representatives. And then like a good majority of the Senate is also up for re-election.
right.
So, I mean, the
Guess
reality is,
guess I'll
he
vote
can't
again in 2
really-
years.
He can't really, knock on wood, can't get into too much trouble in 2 years. So,
And knock on wood, like I don't have that much like faith in like the system anyways of it being like swift, and like people are like, yeah, day 1, the first 40 days of his presidency, like they're gonna strip us of our rights and they're gonna deport 20 million immigrants, and they're pricing that out. I saw a TikTok. Somebody priced that out. It was going to cost like $1 trillion. Like, that's not exaggeration.
Yeah,
Like $1 trillion to do that. And that's just not something that's
that's like the wall too, right?
Gonna
It's
happen.
Like they
Like
got
the wall.
They got the ticket back and they're like, ooh. And he's like, I'm going to make Mexico pay for the wall. And Mexico's like,
we're not paying for it. And he's like, well, we tried.
Well,
So maybe maybe
the
nothing's
reality
going
is
to happen.
a lot of, and this goes back to, I don't think people are voting necessarily on the crap he says into the mic, because they're like, we know that that's kind of BS. I think it goes back to, where were we at 4 years ago when he was president versus where are we at now? And
Right.
I think that's what people are voting on. I think it is personal. I don't think it's so much a matter of like, generalizations
I have
or
a feeling
exactly Trump.
most people who voted for him didn't even watch anything.
Oh, I guarantee it, because they were like,
I saved this.
can't.
Hold on. It was a hilarious article. In quotes, did Joe Biden drop out? Google searches spike on election night, suggesting many Americans had no idea he wasn't running.
Yep. Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
They went to fill out their ballots and they're like, where the hell's Joe?
They're like, and Kamala Harris, they're
Also-
like, where's Joe?
There's a certain amount of people who
Hey, Siri.
made it so public
Right.
that they loved Trump years ago, and now they're too afraid to go back on that if they did change their mind.
Oh, you think they're
I think they had plenty of
a
outs.
ton. I mean, JD Vance was a huge Trump hater.
isn't that crazy?
No, I think what that is the Republican Party going, you know what?
You have a
we
chance.
We don't have we don't have someone else who's going to win.
Yeah.
We either band together and we, put kind of him aside and we vote as party lines, and we kind of like decide as a political party to like push through him as the person at the helm of this.
Right.
And I think JD Vance kind of saw the writing on the wall and was like, well, if I want to actually get anything done, I've got to join it, or I walk away and I let the ship sink on its own.
There's an episode of this podcast where we talk about the alt-right pipeline, and it's not, we haven't recorded it yet, but we could go down that road.
Alt-right pipeline.
You know, like these young guys that, like we were kind of talking about, like the young 18, 19-year-olds that are like, my whole life, affirmative action this, and, women's marches that. But, I'm wrong because I'm a white man. And then they get into these red circles that are like, hey, like, vote for Donald Trump because he's going to XYZ, and, the Joe Rogan thing. And I don't know. It's a whole
Let's just bring back
big brain.
Schwarzenegger, eh?
Oh, God. Okay.
You're talking about
You know what? Sure. we can
Arnold
bring back
Schwarzenegger
Arnold.
when he was the governor of California?
Yeah, let's have
bring
him run.
back. Yeah.
I think he can't
Why not?
because he's not a
He's not a U.S. citizen.
U.S.
Well, he is a
citizen.
citizen
Well, he is,
now.
but he's not born. He wasn't born
My,
here.
Born.
my
He's
favorite
born in
thing,
Russia.
that's been happening.
That's right.
I think
Still
it's
bring
from
him back.
Austria.
Austria. Thank you.
My favorite
That's on
thing that's
me.
been happening is all the things about how much Melania Trump has hated being a first lady. They're like, nobody woke up more bitter and pissed about the election than this woman. And it's like,
She does not
and
wanna
they're
move back to that house.
There's quotes, there's like recordings of her talking to someone on the phone about how much she hated decorating for Christmas. Cause that's like one of the big first lady things is you have to like orchestrate the big decorate. You have to sign up. There's thousands of pounds, thousands of volunteers who come and help decorate for Christmas. You have to get like vetted months in advance to be a part of the team. And it's like a whole motion, which I think is it's so freaking Barbara Bush of like women's role in the White House is like, one of your big things as first lady is you've got to decorate so
Get
America
decorate.
'tis the season for America.
For doilies.
And Melania Trump is like on record being like, who effing cares about this? This is so stupid.
She's like, can I go
hate
home
this.
now?
4 Christmases. She has to decorate for 4 Christmases. And I cannot wait to see what she comes up with.
She's like, no, I just finished this.
She's like, no,
4 more Christmases?
Even
No,
she was
she's
like,
going to
I
use all
didn't
the money
think
she
you would.
has to hire someone to do it all for her.
Yeah, you think,
But she still has
the
to
first lady
show
actually
face.
does. She has a whole
No.
staff. Doesn't the first lady have a whole staff in the White
I mean,
House?
she has this
Probably.
not a whole staff. It's like she probably has like a assistant.
I mean, the stuff
An
that she is
assistant.
supposed to do, she'll probably pay someone to do it.
Can I tell you something? I was really hoping that after this election, we'd stop talking about all of this. I was really hoping that.
I still
Melania
got
Trump being
texts
first
today. Still got texts.
I'm talking about, do you remember when Trump was the president and every single day he was on the news and every episode of SNL, he was the cold open? And like, I just feel like we're going to be back to that.
Yeah.
And that's really annoying.
You know what's funny? I don't think it's gonna be. I mean, knock on wood, right? I don't think it's gonna be as hot button as it was, because I do think at this point, a vast majority, like I think there's a lot of other leaders involved beyond him. I don't think it because last time
live
he
in a
like
different
he split
world.
the ticket.
What do you mean?
The last time he ran, he split
Yeah.
the Republican ticket. This
Did he?
time, yeah. He said basically either you're with me or you're against me.
Yeah.
I'm not stepping down. I'm not going party lines. I'll run as an independent if the Republican Party
And
doesn't back me.
he figured that shit out. Now here we are 4 years later. I think we're in a different world. I think everything is hypercharged on social media. I think TikTok wasn't a big deal back then. And now it's like bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom.
Exactly. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom. I think that even if he comes up in the news, he's going to be gone the next second because there's plenty
I
of
think
other
it's just
things.
more floor space for activities. Just a new bullshit thing every day for the next 1,400 days.
I think you don't have enough trust that this country and this world is shitty enough, and we have plenty of shit to shift through over this year. And I don't think
I think you nailed it, Annie. I fully have lost my trust in
Yeah.
this country. Absolutely.
yeah.
For the next 4 years.
You know, we're shipping you off to Canada. Bye, Ryan.
I did see how easy
If
it
you're
is to
looking to host a podcast,
Annie, quick,
we're going to be
don't
having
think.
new
Who'd you vote for, Annie? Quick, don't think. Say it.
RFK Jr.
The brainworm guy.
Brainworm guy, also very rapey. Plenty
Was
of rape.
he?
Oh yeah, all of the Kennedys.
He cut the head off a whale.
Yeah,
Did you hear about that?
he left a
His-
dead
he's
bear in
wild.
Central Park.
His
He sounds like Chuck Norris. Like
I just finished a book on the Kennedy. It's literally called It's like the Kennedys and the women they've destroyed. And it went through all the Kennedy men
Yeah,
and then
she
like
was
their
really
wives
hot
and
on
everything.
that.
I finished it today. RFK, bad.
can you just give me like a number? How many women they've destroyed?
How many Kennedys are there?
I mean,
Is it-
there are
it's
20
definitely
chapters.
it's double digits, right?
There are
It's gotta
20
be-
chapters. But there's like multiple
One for each
cases,
chapter?
multiple like
That's 20
Ted,
women.
Ted Kennedy had a woman died. He literally left her to die. There's
Dang.
multiple indications of JFK sexually assaulting female staffers.
Dang.
So I'm just saying, Kennedy's bad. And you know what? They're presidents, and we love to talk about how much they were great.
just the one.
Like, oh, he's so good.
Actually, Annie,
And then Bobby
just the
was gonna
one,
be
and
so
they killed
good.
him.
and then they killed Bobby.
We're not counting Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was pretty.
Bill Clinton
pretty rough.
was really rapey. He got elected.
Well, okay.
No.
You're throwing
Listen to
around the
this.
word
Here we go.
rapey.
Here we go.
Buddy,
Here we
he
go.
was being sued for
Monica
sexual
Lewinsky?
harassment. No, beyond that, when he was elected
When he was
president,
elected
he was
president.
in the middle of a lawsuit for sexually harassing and pulling his junk out in front of one of his female
That was
staffers.
Lyndon B. Johnson, actually. That
No,
was Lyndon B. Johnson.
no, that was
Big Dong
Clinton.
Johnson.
Clinton.
Big Dong Johnson, they
Buddy,
called him.
That
That's
was Clinton,
what Annie
and
was saying.
we elected him as that was happening.
That's what Annie's saying. It's
It
like
finished after he became
I wasn't
president.
alive back then, Annie, so I didn't
there
vote
it
for
is.
shit.
There it is.
You know what? You gotta restore your faith in humanity because you know what? It's been shitty the whole time. if you're
Pass.
focused on that,
Pass.
buddy,
What's
I hate to tell you.
That's pretty true.
What's
Andrew
keeping me
Jackson
going?
rode on a saddle of human scalps that he had scalped and had made into a saddle of indigenous people.
But people scalped
and
back
we
then.
loved that
just-
he was president.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Actually, I didn't vote for him. I was not in the
the
party
bottom
of
line
Andrew
is
Jackson.
It's gonna be okay.
It's
Like
gonna be okay.
I don't think so. I don't
Trump's
think so.
not the worst we've seen.
And
certainly.
you know what? And we'll see worse.
And
How many
It's not the
presidents
worst.
have you had? Well, I guess Bush did 9/11, so
Okay, shut.
Okay.
I'm saying in my lifetime, what? Clinton briefly.
Wait, hold on. We're going off
Bush.
of your lifetime. So this is your worst president. Sure.
Wait.
No,
Sure.
this is your worst president.
Hold
I
on.
guess.
Yeah, Bush. He did 9/11, but that's fine. Clinton.
Okay.
Did Monica Lewinsky. That's fine.
That is such a Gen Z mindset. Like this is the worst president because
Obama.
I'm alive for
Obama best. You guys, I didn't vote for any of those other bad presidents.
I hope.
I didn't vote for him.
And you didn't vote
I
for
love
Donald Trump
Obama.
either.
You're right.
And I
you
hope
go.
that we have. Thank you. This brings me back to what made Obama
Obama.
great.
Yeah.
He was fuckable. It was a hot president.
That's what I'm
It was a hot
saying,
president.
dude.
This
What we
podcast.
need is a
what I'm
hot
Press the
saying.
button
president.
right now.
what
Press
I'm
the
saying.
button
And that's
right now.
why
Podcast.
I'm running.
I was
And
trying
when
to
is
say
that? When
what's
I'm
keeping me
35, do the
going
math.
is I can always tell when my mom is like cracking open the photo albums and stuff because she'll just barrage every group chat with like pictures of my wife, pictures of our family, like old family photos, and she'll just like it's just like a constant stream. All of a sudden, like you
might
can
have
just
show
tell.
the camera. I'm not putting it in there. So if you want to show,
I was just showing you.
okay.
End it. You went on a tangent.
Oh shoot, Kara's
Okay.
done.
Hold on, wait. What movies did you watch yesterday?
That was part of the election.
I went on the tangent.
That
I
was
went on
part
the
of the
tangent.
election.
That's freaking
We spent
crazy.
3 minutes on that.
That was
did.
part of the election.
I want to
No,
thank
it was not.
our
Yes, it
patron.
was.
Not even a little bit.
Yes,
honey.
it
I
was.
want to support you through that, but you call me out on a tangent. I gotta roast you.
That's
you.
because you came home and you said, "Were you watching the election?" I said, "No, I decided
That's
not
so
to."
crazy.
What were the movies? Just really quick. First one
Quick,
was
without
can't
thinking.
remember.
Can't remember. Second one
Time
was
Warp.
not that good.
Don't
Third
move.
one was
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
That story was so relevant to the election. I'm just saying.
We want to thank our Patreon supporters for paying for this shit, and we want to thank.
And if you're gonna go to the post show and you're a Patreon supporter, I'll tell you what Annie told me the office she would run for in our post show today.
President.
Oh, I had a whole. I
don't-
had a
The answer
whole
may
plan.
shock you. This is so clickbaity. This is what we've become. This country.
Hey, we've got to get Patreon supporters
Thanks,
somewhere or
Obama.
another.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks,
the
Bill
worst
Clinton.
president we've ever
Okay.
had.
See you guys
Donald
in 4
J.
years.
Trump.
Wait. Okay. My view on this election. On the couch as always, Kara Tavoya, Andy the Scopeman. I'm Ryan.
And I'm John.
And we'll see you next week on What the Podcast. We're like, what the?
Kara, were the movies good?
That was the best.
No,
I literally
she said
set
they
my
were
microphone
bad.
down. I was
Yeah.
like, we're literally doing this right now.
They were good.
And your
And then,
face is just
and
like,
then at the end, she goes, okay, you went on a tangent. Kill me, man.
You want to die right now
swiftly.
before a female president?